hour before we come on, I'm just sitting here. Now you're gonna go live in the middle of me like having some like meaning of life discussion. That's cool. You know what?
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's go.
The face is looking good, Mike. Buttery smooth.
Thanks, man. I feel like 5 years younger. My kids don't recognize me.
So how was y'all Thanksgiving?
Very good.
All right.
It was, turkey and dressing.
Yeah. Cool. So, Mike, before you come on, me and Miles were talking, dude. I'm not convinced of Pittsburgh. I'm not.
No,
I don't know.
me neither,
You're
man.
in the same boat.
Yes, I am in the same boat. There's been several times Pittsburgh's almost lost this year. They've played some teams that seemed like they were better than Pittsburgh, but got the bounces go the other way. Now they lost Bud Dupree for the season. I think he's been a big reason of why they've been able to pull out some of these close games. I don't think they're for real. I mean, out of all the 11-0 teams that I can think about, they're somewhere in like the bottom third of that list right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, they have a defense, but I was saying earlier, it's just more of the same with them. As far as, it's just, I don't know. It's just
kind of
like,
what you have to be though to win in this league. I mean, you got to be good at something, but they've adapted to a lot of different situations. They've had some guys just kind of jump out of there, and I think TJ Watt I think he's a bona fide star.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's kind of like, I don't think he would win Defensive Player of the Year this year, but if somebody voted for him, I wouldn't be mad at him.
Yeah, no, he is he's going to be awesome. I mean, he already is. He already is. But did any of y'all see that game or listen? I actually listened to that game on Wednesday on my drive home from doing a job. Little did I know that it came on at 3:30 Central Time.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, this is on. Might as well listen to this.
No, I didn't watch any of it. I wish I would have.
It was basically a preseason game for Baltimore, dude. They were down to like their third string on a lot of positions. I mean, they were hit. Dude, they were hit so hard with the COVID.
Yes.
And they lost a lot of players. That's why it was delayed all the way up till fucking Wednesday. I cannot honestly say I remember a game being on a Wednesday.
There's not been many. I think the last time was no, that might not have been a Wednesday. I was going to say the Eagles game when they played the Vikings in like 2010. There was some kind of like severe snowstorm. It was like Favre's last year. And they had to push the game off a couple of times. I thought that might have been Wednesday, but it could be Tuesday. That was the Joe Webb game. Favre went out with the concussion, and Webb had to come in and play. And I had Webb on my fantasy team because I had nobody else, and I actually got like 12 points a day. So thanks, Brett.
I don't know, man. I disagree with you guys about the Steelers to a certain extent. I think that, they've got they have a relatively easy schedule.
Yes.
Other than the fact that they play the Ravens twice, which obviously hasn't been an issue, but at the first of the year, everyone thought it might be. And the Titans, other than that, they've got a cakewalk of a schedule, but as soon as they get into the playoffs, they'll be knocked out in a hurry. I think.
Yes.
That's so. I think they're for real. I think they're winning real. I mean, it's you can look at Ben Roethlisberger's stats and see that it's not just a fluke. I mean, he's doing well.
He's got
not
like
pretty though. It's
like 24. So yeah, no, he's in the top 5 for past touchdowns.
Yeah.
In
26
NFL right
of
now.
them, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it's up there. But he was just, I don't think that Pittsburgh's defense can really have the stamina to go up against somebody like Kansas City.
They've shown some weaknesses. I think they could play with a Kansas City better than they could a lot of other teams, but Baltimore, I mean, you talking about they beat Baltimore twice. It was closer than the score. I mean, this game the other day that nobody really saw. I saw the last 2 minutes of it, and as I was looking through the stat sheet, RG3 had a pick 6 in that game. Final score was like 19-14. So you take out that pick 6, and I mean, it could possibly have been an overtime game. It would have been close, despite all the whatever was against Baltimore between the COVID and the injuries and the time it's been played and the fact they didn't get the practice. They still almost won that game. And the last game they played each other, Baltimore ran all over them in the first half, like literally had 150 yards rushing in the first half or something to that effect. So I think Pittsburgh, with all their players, still showed that they could be beaten by a really big ground and pound team like the Titans. The Titans almost took them to overtime. I think if they really got in a dogfight with a team that was physical and ran the ball and did a lot of this play action passing, they could get beat pretty bad. And I think, like Miles said, in the first round of the playoffs, they'll probably wind up getting a bye with their record and all that. But at first round of the playoffs, they're playing somebody and they get a decent team. Yeah, they're gone.
Well, the one thing that the Steelers have, I mean, everybody, like you said, there's a lot of games that they've won by the skin of their teeth. But when you think about it that way, what's the X factor between them and the Chargers losing a lot of games by the skin of their teeth? That's what that is an X factor that the Steelers have. It's a consistency. It's a maturity. It's it's something a lot of clubhouses want that never get.
I can agree with that.
It's hard to deny that under pressure. We'll
I'm not trying to knock their record or their success so much as I'm saying, like, man, the other shoe's got to fall sometime,
It does. Like, this weekend might be the one.
Yeah, going up against Washington, dude. Washington silently coming back with Alex Smith and shit. He's not doing bad. And you picked up the fucking receiver, you dick.
Can you guys hear that?
I did. I lost Fuller, and I got what was it, McLaren or McLaughlin?
Or I was trying to get him too. I lost the waiver to you dicks. Yeah, dude, whatever. I actually had a better game than I thought I was going to have, but
you almost got me. Dude, you almost got me. If I hadn't started Fuller, I'd have lost. There's nobody else I would have put in to make up that ground. I mean, you were right up my anal cleft coming after me.
Dude,
I told you too. I said, man, if I get tangled up with you in the playoffs, I'm going. Like there's no chance because I'm not going to be able to sustain the level of luck that I've had. I mean, I can't score 200 points a game. It's not going to go forever.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Anyways,
and now as far as back to the Steelers, I'm a little bitter about that match. For anybody listening, Mike whooped my ass again this past week. Yeah, well, I was 196. He was 224 or some shit. He already had 118 points after a fucking Thursday night game.
Because I had Fuller and Watson. They put up 118.
118. Yep, they sure did.
I believe.
All right. So they got Washington, and then after that, they got the Bills. Steelers do. They have the Bills after Washington.
I think they can lose to both of them. I think they can lose to either one of them. You know what they're like? Have y'all seen Hot Tub Time Machine?
Yeah.
And where the guy, the doorman with one arm, and then they go back in time, and they're like constantly watching for him to like have that arm cut off. Like, how'd you lose your arm? And, like all this stuff happens, and like he almost gets it cut off. That's the Steelers. They're the guy with the one arm that you're just waiting to find out how it gets cut off.
Very, very good analogy.
And then they got the Bengals. They got the Bengals after that, which they probably shouldn't have to worry about that. And then they have the Colts. Dude, the Colts, that will be the second to last game of the season versus the Colts. The Colts are going to be trying to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
if not securing their playoff run.
If you're Pittsburgh and you're 15-0 going into that game, do you play your starters? Seeing what happened this last week?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If anybody has that kind of a lead, no, dude. Look at all the injuries this year. This is not the year to just put especially Roethlisberger, dude.
Yeah.
Don't put him in there. There's no reason. He's going to be gone next year anyways.
You think so?
No. I'm just talking shit. He should be. I just hate the Steelers, man. But I hate the Ravens too.
Yes.
But yeah.
Hey.
Every year that the Steelers play the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, I feel like all of us lose because one of them's going to go to the Super Bowl, and that's happened a couple of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Ray Sunshine. So, where are we going after that? So, out of the NFC, who do y'all think is all right? So, obviously, in the AFC, is Steelers are on top with their fucking 11-0 record, and then Kansas City. But Kansas City is the better football team.
They don't have their defense does not stand up to Pittsburgh. We all can agree to that.
And they don't have a rushing game either. But they have Patrick Mahomes.
That's Kansas City?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, man. Oh, yeah.
What?
That Edwards Eclair.
No, dude. They're not in the top 10 for rushing.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
I don't think they use it as much as somebody, but it's there.
Well, yeah, it's there, but no, they don't use it.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of if they have it or not, if you're not using it, then you obviously don't have it.
Well, I mean, when you're throwing 90-yard bombs to Tyreek Hill like it's Sunday in the park, I mean,
dude, that son of a bitch had over 200 yards this past week, man.
Crazy.
Yes.
So anybody listening to this is December 4th. I don't know what week we're on anymore. What the hell is that?
But as far as the AFC goes, man, with you talking about standings and the Steelers and the Chiefs,
yeah,
I mean, the playoffs are really going to be interesting, I think, because between
in the AFC, I agree.
Yes, between the Titans and the Bills being on top, and then the Dolphins and the freaking Colts being just right behind them in those divisions, and you've even got the Browns in the division with the Steelers, you know, that aren't what I don't know the science behind the new schedule of the things, so anyone can jump in and say, "You dumb fuck." The two of the teams can't get in from there. Oh, yes, that has happened.
No, I mean, I've seen 3 teams from one division go. So obviously, you know.
Well, and this year it's 7 in each conference. So, I mean, well, here's what I'm looking at, man. I'm thinking it's Bills, Dolphins in that division, Steelers, Browns, because now they're 2 games ahead of the Ravens. I don't see the Ravens making that up. I think it's too late.
The Ravens had to win this past week.
Had to win this past week. It's possible mathematically, but unlikely.
Well, yeah.
And then in the South, you got the Titans, Colts, and then you got the Chiefs. I mean, that's 7 teams. I mean, the Raiders and the Ravens both have winning records, but they're 6-5 right now in the AFC. You're pretty much dead because every team in the AFC is good. You're not going to be able to get past them.
Yep.
Nope.
And fuck Tampa Bay. Fuck Tampa Bay. Fuck Tom Brady. That no handshaking son of a bitch, dude. What a little bitch, dude.
I know.
He's
always been that way, though.
Is it a spite thing, or is he claiming that it's like a health related issue thing, whatever?
No, he hasn't said shit about that. It ain't no damn health thing. No, it's just him being a little bitch. That's it.
He's full of it. He's very stuck up, but he's always been this way. It's kind of a Patriots thing. I mean, they just always have kind of walked with a little air of invincibility, and they're better than you. I guess technically, you know, you could make the argument that he is still better than everybody, but
obviously not. Obviously not.
Well, he is an active player with 6 rings on his fingers.
I'll give you that. But dude, Gary Anderson, played for 40 years, so give me a break. Mm-hmm. But dude, no, that's just bad sportsmanship, man. He's just a little bitch, and it irritates me.
I agree.
And
but he's better than me.
Obviously, he's better than me. But I mean. But
I like that I'm reading the notes just now, and it's like Tampa Bay loses and fuck Brady's little nose shaking because he's at that chest. That's from like 3 days ago, 2 days ago.
Yeah,
awesome.
I know. No, that really bugs me, dude. It just bugs me.
No, I don't like it either.
Does anybody see them doing anything in the playoffs?
No.
What are your? I feel like I want to go back in time and agree with my first initial reaction to this, that it wasn't going to amount to much, but then it started to, and now I'm back to saying I don't think it's going to. So,
I think they have a thing like what we're talking about with the Steelers, where they beat the bad teams, they lose to the good teams. They're just an average team. It's got a lot of name brand players, but they're an average team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's obviously some conflict going on between the head coach and Brady. That keeps getting thrown out there. Aaron, whatever the fuck his name is, he keeps throwing Tom Brady under the bus. People are coming to Tom Brady's defense, like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that in the public eye. Well, dude, if you're playing like a bitch, you're playing like a bitch." Somebody's making some wrong reads or wrong calls or something, because, dude, I've seen a lot of plays where they are not on the same page, the receiver and Tom Brady. And whatever receiver you want to think of, go ahead, because he uses everybody. I will say that. No one's a lead receiver on that team.
No. And I don't know if they wouldn't benefit from some kind of hierarchy like that, to be honest, because like you got too many cooks in the kitchen there, and you need some order maybe, because their plays, man, I'm no offensive coordinator, but are they not one of the most boring teams to fucking watch? I mean, they're right there with the Steelers. The Steelers might even have more exciting plays than the Bucs. They're just it's not fun. It's not fun football.
It's not. And yeah, no, I agree. And they have like One game they'll have a running game, and then one game they'll rush 5 times.
Mhm.
5 fucking times they rushed.
So I just don't think that he's comfortable in that offense. I mean, they're all in the same system from last year except for him. I think it's Brady. I think Brady has spent 20 years in a system, and he's flipped over. I mean, you could say it's a system. It's several different coordinators, but they all probably run a very similar type of system in New England, from McDaniels back to Mangini and whoever was there before. Mangini was defense. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
So I think him coming over in Arians' system, which Arians, kind of got his chops under Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning, and it was this go deep, kind of spread them out and kind of run guys down the field, take your shots. And Brady's never really been that way. I mean, none of his teams have ever been throw it down the field type teams, except for Randy Moss for like 2 seasons.
Yep.
And outside of that, Deion Branch had like 1 year, and the rest of it's been check down, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. He doesn't have that. None of the guys on that team, any of them, fit that mold. Antonio Brown 5-6 years ago probably could have some of that, but we're not talking about the same player, and it's not going to get any better. He might come back next year, but I don't know that he'll even come back to Tampa Bay because I really don't think that it's working long term. I don't think that over the course of the season you could say he's comfortable in the system and he's going to be any better next year because his arm is not going to be any better next year.
No. I would say the same thing about Drew Brees.
Yes.
They have a very similar, it's a very check down oriented way of playing because he does not throw deep balls.
No. Balls.
There was a time, though, when he did.
Yeah. Well.
But not any longer. And what about that situation? I mean,
see, I'm unfamiliar. I was just that. Sorry for the blank spot there or the silent spot, but I was trying to think of what they're doing. They're leading their division, aren't they?
The Saints are. Yes, they are leading their division, and they have a sneaky good defense too.
Mm-hmm.
Is he back now? Drew Brees?
I don't know that he's back.
He's got at least another week. He broke like 8 ribs or something crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like people in car crashes wind up with less damage than what he ended up with. But I think Taysom Hill makes them a different team, and people
they were saying that happened within 2 games. The first 2, they're saying that 2 of his ribs were broken.
Oh, like he played with some? Okay, well that makes more sense.
And then they don't know exactly when he got the class 1. That could have also been leading up from the 2 that were broken in the back or something like that.
He's tough, man. You can't say anything different. But no, Taysom Hill's a guy that once they get enough tape on him as a quarterback, I mean, dude, they played the Broncos last week. Can we talk about that for a second about how Denver got thrown out there under the bus with no quarterbacks? They played them, and they ran the ball like 50 times because they knew they didn't have to throw the ball, and they still scored 31 points. I mean, dude, Vandy with no head coach could have gone and beaten the Broncos last week, and it wouldn't even have been a close game. So a couple of these weird oddball games, but you're starting to get Taysom Hill on tape. He's not really going to be, I think, a quarterback for any team next year. And if he has to sit there and play quarterback a couple more games, they're not going to be 9-2 anymore. They might start losing several games, and they'll have to turn to Jameis Winston. I mean, it's just one of these things that, mobile quarterbacks, guys that like to run the ball, they get figured out.
Real quick, I mean, look at Baltimore. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about Lamar Jackson this year. That everybody figured him out, just like Miles said last year.
Taysom Hill. I mean, there's a huge difference. So they'd figure out Taysom Hill in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
he just hasn't played anybody yet.
Yep.
Well, do you think he makes decent decisions with the ball, though? Like in a passing situation.
Know. I have not seen him play. I really don't know.
I don't think not enough. I mean, he's had some near misses where he threw the ball right to the defender. I mean, he's kind of got this Mitch Trubisky deal. And if you've ever watched Trubisky play, I mean, the games where he's got 2 interceptions, he should have had 5 or 6.
Right.
And then the guys just dropped the balls. And it's kind of the same thing with Hill, and he still runs a lot, and they still have these wild formation, wildcat, running back takes the snap type deals, and it covers up for a lot. So I mean, to their credit, they're 9-2. That's pretty successful, but it's not really built to last.
So would you think they're kind of like the Steelers of the NFC then? Is it their defense that is carrying them to that record of 9-2?
And the schedule in the division.
Well, yeah, their division shit. No, Carolina's not doing too bad.
Yeah, they are.
They're all
They're
kinda
like 4-8
mediocre.
or something.
Well, yeah, I'm way off on that. So, so Green Bay's coming out of the NFC. What about them? What do y'all think about them?
Oh, dude. I mean, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers took a slight that they got a quarterback in the first round this year. He's all right, fuck all you guys. And he's turned out a career year with basically Devontae Adams and a couple other guys, kind of making up the rest of the talent pool. And dude, when he's been on this year, which he was this last weekend, he's been amazing.
Yep.
I mean, he's been fun to watch. There's only a couple seasons I can remember where he's really been this good. And I mean, this may be his best year. I mean, stats out the window and stuff. I think this might be his best year total.
But is it an issue? All right. So is their record? Is it more of a product of their schedule? Like we were talking about the Steelers, because just 2 weeks ago they got beaten overtime by the Colts.
Colts are a good team.
They got a great defense.
I think that Green Bay's vulnerable. I really do. I don't know why I feel that way. I guess because they have already lost to some major. I mean, the Colts are a good team to lose to them. But I don't know, man. Like, I guess my frustration comes from the running game, like the inconsistency in it. I wish that they had a little.
It's
bit
always
more in
been that way in Green Bay.
I know.
As long as I can remember,
it's a Green Bay
it's
team.
always been that way. Yeah,
and
they're
they have
pass
a
first
running back.
city.
I mean, they've had one for the past 2 years that can tote the ball. I like fucking wear him out.
I wonder if that's Rodgers. I mean, because you got to think he's got a lot of autonomy at the line. I think he might be calling away from some of these run plays where you take other quarterbacks of his level, like a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Those guys would call more run plays at the line based on the lineups.
That's
I
a
think
good point.
He's checking out of it. I think he's checking out of it because it's. I mean, you got to look what you said, Adam. You got to look at like the last probably 9, 10, 12 years of him being there, and you've always had these guys that seem like they're really talented, and they don't. I mean, they still don't have a running game. And you're always kind of like, yeah, but about Green Bay because they're not able to run the ball consistently.
Yep.
Maybe like one team that I can remember really had any decent running backs on it. The rest of the time, they just have guys that don't run the ball. But Aaron Jones is good.
He is good.
No, he's great. He's great. He started off the year with good numbers.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, he got, what was it, a hamstring injury? He was out a couple of weeks.
Yeah. There's been nothing since.
Nope. They haven't had much of shit. Screen passes and shit like that, but they're not getting actually rushing yards. Mm-hmm. But
I don't know. It's just, I mean, I don't know. So I think that I don't know. I feel like that they're beatable, I guess is what I'm just trying to say. Like, I don't feel it still feels like just an Aaron Rodgers show. And that's great.
No, it is.
But
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely, because that's what it is. It's kind of like the way, Brady was in New England.
Yeah.
It was a Brady show because, you didn't really have the high marquee players on those teams, except for like Mike was saying.
Let me throw this out there, guys. I mean, you're going to have whoever from the NFC East, which doesn't matter. The Packers, the Saints, and then the Seahawks, all in the playoffs at some point, and your high likelihood of teams going to the Super Bowl is going to be one of those three out of the NFC. So, I mean, if you had to pick one of those guys to fight it out and be the last one standing, like between those three, who would you pick? They're all kind of the same team.
Seattle's defense is a little better.
Seattle's defense is not better.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no way. Dude, they are a gaping wide hole.
No.
I don't know, man. I think I'd pick the Rams out of them.
Well, yeah. No, if they're an option, they do have a good defense.
Because they're the only ones that are like that I could. The other ones are just
statistically, excuse me. Seattle's not that bad of a defense.
Well,
up until the last 2 weeks, they were probably they were on track to give up the most yards passing by any defense in history. But Jamal Adams came back, and that's why now the last couple of games their defense has actually won them the game because Adams has now got he's got 8 sacks for a defensive back.
Yeah, because man, I just picked them up in fantasy, so I'm going.
They're a matchup team. I mean, and like I'm saying, with him on there, it gives them kind of something to do because he's leading the team in sacks. I mean, they're actually starting to get those minus plays that you have to get as a defense to really be decent. And but I mean, you look at their defense as a whole; it's not great. Neither is the Packers defense, and neither is the Saints defense. Well, the Saints defense is, but yeah. So aside from that, I mean, I don't know. It kind of seems like all these teams in the NFC like have these huge vulnerabilities somewhere that they're really good, but you know, somebody could catch them because there's this whole section of their team that's not very good.
I agree with that sentiment.
So what did y'all think about the Titans game this past week?
Yeah, I'm smiling.
It was. I feel like they are doing what they need to do. They need to give Derrick Henry the ball at least 25 times. As long as that continues, I think everything will be fine. Yeah,
King Henry, dude, he's getting it done.
And I think he definitely deserves a talk into this MVP conversation.
Absolutely. The only reason, yeah, dude. The only reason he wouldn't get it is because he's not a quarterback.
That's right.
That's the only reason he would not get that title, and I'm sorry, but he rightfully deserves that honor this year. Given there's 4 games left, of the season.
Mm.
I guess it all just depends on how they finish out the season, and because right now he's going up against Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. Would you agree with that?
Running back's not going to get it. I think Adrian Peterson, when he went for 2,000 yards, I don't even think he got an MVP, and he should have got it that year.
Now, well, where did they go in the playoffs, though? Don't they? They kind of lump that shit all in, don't they? You got to be successful.
It's supposed to be regular season.
Yeah, but it ain't.
It's weird. It's like this kind of algorithm that takes into account how good your team is and how important you are in their success and how you are at your position league-wide, like stats and all that kind of stuff. So it's alphabet soup. Nobody really understands it. It's just kind of subjective to the people that vote on it, which I don't know who the hell they are. But no, I think he's going to be a decent also-ran. I think he's definitely the thing that's driving that team because you kind of saw like the first half of the season, Tannehill had more of a hand in their success and them kind of keeping an even keel. And then he kind of does this second half of the season thing. Like he kind of has always done, like in the second 8 games of the season, he's always really ramped it up. It's where he had the 99-yard runs, where he had the several 200-yard games. And he's kind of doing the same thing. I mean, he's had 2 game-winning runs in overtime as a running back, like in the same season. That's crazy. But I think they'll go as far as he's going to take them. And injuries be damned. Their offensive line, they lost Sambrilo, and they lost one for the season, but they've had a lot of guys shuffling around up front. He's still getting it done. It's all him.
Dude, he's huge. He is huge. I mean, that's like a Mack truck running down at you, man. And it's just, it's so funny seeing a lot of these defenders just bouncing right off of him. He's got to have the best stiff arm in the NFL right now.
Man, I think he deserves the MVP because the way I look at that, the only contender versus him that it would deserve it in my eyes would be Russell Westbrook. Because I said to myself, if the MVP, like, would the Titans be who they are without Derrick Henry?
Oh, there's no chance in hell.
No.
Now, would the Kansas City Chiefs be pretty good without Mahomes? Probably. Not this stellar team, but they've got a lot of star athletes on their team.
You're right, they do.
Mega playmakers. So, you could I think theoretically you could take him away and they would still win games. I think if you took Derrick Henry away from the Titans, they would not win games.
See, I like the way you're judging that. That to me is the most valuable player.
Exactly.
Is someone but just like if you take Aaron Rodgers away from Green Bay, what do you got?
Nothing. And Russell Westbrook from Seattle, similar situation. If you took him away, they'd have nothing. So that's the way I think it should be looked at.
No, I agree. And I think that there's a leaning towards that when they vote, but they try to take like 3 or 4 different factors and pull it together in some weird mix of stuff. I think it needs to be, it should exclusively be how important they are to their team's success and a team that is a success because they're there.
Yeah.
And that would make Henry an MVP like yesterday.
Yep.
Yep.
And Russell Westbrook like 10 years ago or whatever.
He's never gotten one vote.
Yeah.
He's never received one vote for MVP.
And I'm not some big fanboy of his, but I mean, my word, he's been the guy there for long as a long time now. A long time.
Right.
Not as long as I've been watching football, but a long time.
Did you know that that Patrick Mahomes only has 2 interceptions this year?
Yes.
2.
He's a badass, man. I
cheat code.
I hate saying that he doesn't deserve like a slot in the MVP. Of course he does.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just feel like, they're still a good team without him. Where I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but they were a good team with Alex Smith. So I mean, right? But that doesn't count. That was 3 years ago.
Well, I think an argument can be made by a reasonable person that it's not all Mahomes. I mean, based on the talent there. But I mean, you look at last year; he was out with that knee thing that looked worse than it was, and he missed 4 or 5 games, and Matt Moore came in there, and I think Matt Moore won most of those games.
Yeah.
So. I mean,
matter of fact, when Mahomes come back, he lost that first game that he came back at, which was actually here in Nashville.
Yeah, he came back a little bit too soon, which I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does. You're in a playoff push, and you want to get your best guy in there. But I mean, Matt Moore was bagging groceries or something. Like when they called him to come be a backup there, they never thought for a second he'd have to play. But then when he did, they were winning games. So I think somebody could do that this year because I think this Chiefs team is better than the one last year.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
A pretty mild stretch.
Dude, I mean, Andy Reid has to be one of the most underappreciated coaches.
Because he coached in Philly.
Well, yeah. Anybody that coaches
they hate Santa
but look what's been going on since he left. Absolute shit.
Well, they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they did win a Super Bowl.
Well, yeah.
Nick Foles, baby.
Yeah.
That's the one way that Philadelphia wins the Super Bowl, right? With the backup quarterback, and then they keep their star quarterback, and he just does nothing. And then it's going to cost them hundreds of $1 millions just not to cut him.
Oh, dude. He is terrible, man.
Let's zero in on that for a second because that's the hot topic right now. Now, dude, Wentz, I don't know what happened. I don't know if you guys know what happened to him because he looked good as a rookie. He looked good the next year. He's looked good, before and after the Super Bowl. And I thought, okay, well, as long as he can stay healthy, they're going to be a competitive team. And he is absolute rotten, stank, garbage ass trash this year. And it's against inferior competition in that whole division. So, I read something this week saying that if they cut him next year, I think it's like $60 million in dead money. And then the year after that, it's like $24 million. So they basically have to keep him for 2 more seasons. Jesus, what are you going to do? you got to win some games. You can't do it with him.
So, I mean, why not go ahead? A lot of people are talking about this same thing too. Why not go ahead and put Hurts in? They put him in for like a play or 2. Man, just put him in.
I don't know.
Are they afraid that he's going to get hurt or something? Yeah. What?
I don't know if he's an NFL quarterback, to be honest with you.
Let's find out. I'm sure he's just going to be like Taysom Hill at this point.
I could see him playing that role.
Yeah. I mean, he's a running quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. They come in as running quarterbacks. That we've seen it,
Well, this year's over. This year's over for them, and they're not climbing out of the basement in this division. I think the Cowboys have a better chance than them, and I ain't seen the Cowboys in the playoffs either. So next year is going to be when the fun starts because here's what's going to happen, guys. You're going to have people on the team that are really pissed off because they're handing Wentz the starting job because of how much money he makes, and that's the team's fault for giving him all that money. And you have veterans on that team that want to win, and they're not going to put up with that shit. They're going to riot. They're going to revolt and want somebody else in there, and then you're going to have a full year quarterback controversy. Let me tell you something real quick. When I lived in Nashville, the last year I was bartending, it was 2014, and we had – who did we have as quarterback at the Titans? I think it was a Locker year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Jake Locker. So the bar I was at, we had Titans players in there all the time. They'd come in there game day, 2 hours after it was over. They get their ass kicked and come in there and just get hammered, right? Thanks. So Sammy Lee Hill was a defensive tackle that year. Hey, Sammy, if you're watching, sorry to put you on blast. But he'd come in there, huge dude, bring a bunch of his buddies, and they would openly talk about how they had no quarterback that year, right? And I'm thinking, like, man, this is like 6 weeks into the year. These guys got 10 more games to go, and they're already saying, man, we don't have a prayer. I mean, players will give up. Yeah. These are guys that are starters on the team.
Yeah, morale's a thing, man, for real.
Yeah, that's what happened to the Jags these past 2 years. is that they have given up, dude. Once Jalen Ramsey left, it was over. It was over because it was over in the the AFC Championship in New England. That's when it was over. Because, dude, they should have won that game. They were there. They had it. And they made some terrible coaching decisions.
That is true. That is true. And then you start having the team fracture and fall apart because quarterback's one of those. I mean, you got to have an answer. If you have two guys at the same skill level, I don't care if they're great, like a Montana and Young situation, or if they're absolutely awful and they just can't beat each other out, you're going to start losing people on the team and they're going to kill it. So next season, I don't see Philadelphia getting any better. I don't care what they do unless they move on from Wentz, which we all know it's impossible. If the cap goes down and then they take a hit like that, they won't even be competitive.
Too, though. You said the same thing about Foles last year, that the Jags would not cut Foles. They cut him.
Well, they traded him. So, yes, I think where'd he go? Chicago? Yeah, Chicago, I think, picked up part of that to get him.
Right. And they paid a lot of money for him.
Yep.
And look
I think in the short term it helped him, but I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, man. I mean, you got to eat the money, but next year, I mean, where people could do it last year going into this season, I mean, you don't have any fans of these games. The number's going to drop, and it's going to be such a bigger piece of the pie. Where you're used to, the salary kept going up every year. It's going to be over $200 million and $220 million. Yeah, now it's going to go down. So you got to start really cutting some people. This is going to take us back to like the Derek Mason Titan age, back when he was an amazing kick returner, receiver. They gave him another contract, and even though he was playing great, they had to cut him and a couple other guys. And then one of those 2 down seasons right before they drafted Vince Young because they paid too much money, and they spent 2 years trying to get out from underneath the salary cap hell. We're now about to be back in that shit with all these teams that have to make these big decisions where it's not been a thing for a while.
Yeah. Well, luckily we just gave Derrick Henry his 5-year contract this past offseason, right before the season started. So, I mean, if he would have played under franchise, who'd know what would happen? Now, how long do you think Tannehill has here?
Honestly, I think they both have both of their contracts were structured in a way that they're both going to get 2 years. And NFL contracts typically are that way. If it's a 5-year deal, you basically have guaranteed the first 2 years and then probably the third, and the last 2 years you just have to really play up to standard to get them. I mean, because the last 2 years there's no guaranteed money left. They can cut you and there's no loss to the team. It's kind of the same on both of them. So this year and next year for sure. And then after that, it really depends on next year, probably.
It's hard to have a long-term goal anymore for things, right? I mean, it almost is year to year.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's, dude, especially with the more, it just seems like there's so many more injuries and players are not lasting like they used to. I mean, the average NFL career only lasts 3 years. That's the average.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, you are running full force at 300-pound men and banging heads.
Yeah, but
it's not ballet.
It's once a week. Man up.
All right, once a week. Once a week, I'm gonna get somebody to come over there and just pound your ass into the ground.
That's all right. No, I'm good. But I would trade for that shit. They get paid millions of dollars, man.
Oh, I would have done it if I was if I could do a football. If I could do a football, I could score a home run.
There you go. No,
buys a lot of ice cream in the hospital.
So this week we got Tennessee at Cleveland. No, excuse me, Cleveland here in Tennessee. That's going to be a Russian from hell game. You got Nick Chubb and what's the other guy's name? Hunt. Yeah. You got that 1-2 punch, and then we got Derrick Henry that goes up against him. And I think them combined, they have
Henry and Chubb were the 1 and 2 rushers last year.
Yep. And matter of fact, Derrick Henry surpassed him on the very last game.
It's going to be a good game. I think Cleveland could beat them. Yeah, it just depends on how it starts.
Yeah.
Yep. I think if Cleveland comes out hot, man, then we could be detrimental to the Titans if they, if Cleveland comes out and just throws a couple bombs and gets on the scoreboard real quick. 14 points, they'll say in the first quarter, something like that. Yeah,
well, it's kind of a street game. It's kind of like the first to 14. Like whoever gets like a 10, 13 point lead on the other team is probably going to run out the clock.
Yep, I agree because I mean,
Titans can pull it out.
I mean, but Baker has shown that he can do that too. Like that he can make these big plays this year. He's done pretty well actually.
He's made a lot of better decisions, and I don't know if this is true, but it seems like he's been playing better ever since ODJ went out. OBJ, whatever the fuck his name is.
I mean, that's a reasonable kind of way to look at it. I think that's very possible, but also I think it's just Stefanik is the coach. I think him and getting his system in there and having Mayfield used to it has made all the difference. I mean, you have more or less the same team from last year, and now they're 8-3. This is what they should have been under Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens should have never been a head coach.
You were against him from the get-go.
From the beginning. It was a coward move. They just didn't want to go out there and get anybody, and they figured, okay, we'll just promote the offensive coordinator. I don't think every coordinator makes the offense or defense. I think it depends on the coach that was there. It depends on the players, and there's a certain amount that is the coordinator himself. But they get far too much credit when it's good, and then they get fired when it's bad. And you can see a lot of times when these guys even get fired, it doesn't change, So I definitely think he should be. I think him being a position coach and then getting elevated to it, not to harp on this endlessly, I think it was something that they just kind of sold themselves on instead of having to go out and do these interviews where Josh McDaniels would turn them down. Anyway, it was stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take the Titans. I'm taking the Titans this week.
I'll take the Titans too, but I think they could lose, but I don't want them to.
I'm hoping for the Titans. I'm not even going to pick on this one because they're really two even match teams, like the same team.
So does everybody agree? No, I wish. So what other games are there really to pick from? You got Buffalo at San Francisco Monday Night Football. I don't know. I'm not very confident in Allen lately.
He's showing some works.
Yeah, he has not done that well.
And San Francisco San Francisco, they have a defense.
A
little bit left.
Yeah, it's teetering on. I mean, they haven't been. I don't know. I haven't kept up with the 49ers that well, just because they fucking didn't. They just fell flat on their face in the opening few games.
Well, they were down to the third string quarterback there for a few weeks. Now I know who the hell they got playing out there right now.
No. So I don't know. The Rams Cardinals might be a fun one.
Yeah,
that would be a fun one.
Yeah, that will.
That's a division match. That's gonna have some weight to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Afternoon game. Maybe you guys will see it there.
Possible. Man, I guess that's about me. I don't know what else to talk about.
Hey, man, I think I covered it.
All
cool.
Right.
We'll do it again next week, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
All right.
Rock and roll.
Later.